really, really mixed up at the moment, and it's going to be a really interesting season at this rate.
I reckon so. And with the prize of an Aussie driver search drive in a real racing car on the line as the main prize for this championship, it's really going to, we've seen it get a lot of people involved, and it's really going to carry on all throughout the season. But we will take you through our qualifying results now, as we have just completed qualifying. Dane Warren takes out pole position on a 129.353. He's joined on the front row by Forzan El Nabi, and closely followed by Wayne Burke and Sam Sutton in third and fourth position. To Mr. Two-time Sam Blacklot will start out at fifth. He'll be joined by Brett Loxton, and Brad Bryan, after a good performance last week, will start from seventh position. Brett Cananzi will join Brad on row four in eighth position. Brady Myers, our current championship leader, will start out at ninth, and Carl Stokes, who's not far behind him in the championship standings as well, will start out of 10th position.
And 11th, we have Chris Coxhead, followed by Luke Harvey in 12th. 13th and 14th will go to Jack Boyd and Marlon McMullen, Jacob Knight and Jackson Sun Harlow in 15th and 16th, respectively. 17th and 18th, Corey Preston, Ian Ford, and rounding up top 20 will be Brian Borg and James.
And then Michael Cracknell, man in position 2 in the championship. A lot of work to do out of 21st, joined by Guy Leach, Luke Page, and Mario Vlasic just behind them. And Greg Sharp, Mitchell McLeod, and Scott Kozlowski will round out our field. Now, Mitchell McLeod and Scott Kozlowski, both very fast drivers, very hard races as well. So we'll be looking to see them come through the field for sure. Now, short run down into turn 1 here at Belle Isle, but it's a pretty long straight thereafter, and a big braking zone into turn number 3, which is really going to be where a lot of these guys start to check up. I believe that we will see quite a few guys fanning out as they start to come down that straight after turn number 2 here. So we can see all the cars now gridding up and preparing themselves. The revs are starting to build here at Belle Isle, and the man on pole, Dane Warren, is looking towards turn number 1, and they are away. Nice clean start from everybody so far. Dane gets a nice start. Couple of cars going 2 by 2 all the way through turn 1. Pretty cruisy for this first part of the section of the track, but now it's going to be a big drag race down into turn number 3, and we're going to see a couple of people maybe starting to get a bit brave here in the concrete jungle at Belle Isle. Couple of cars going 2 and 3 wide down through the field, all being very respectful to each other though. Couple of TTL cars having, and there's a car off in the background stuck behind the barriers. There's that Corey Preston, I think it is. And, I'm pretty familiar territory, and another car around that looks like a TD. That's Brad Ryan, the TTL Esports car, unfortunately has turned around there. We'll see if we can find out what happened for you soon. A couple of cars going at it at the moment on track. We'll just go to a replay of what happened to Brad Ryan there. So just got a bit... But this is Corey Preston, so we're looking at the Corey Preston interview first. So he's going side by side there with the TTL car, and I feel like he's just probably going to brake pretty deep and maybe just get forced to the outside of the track and not really have anywhere to go. Oh, it's a TTL car, so that was very unfortunate for Corey Preston. So wrong place, wrong time, and Brad Ryan looks like he does it all on his own and actually gets collected by one of his teammates, and lucky no one else really got caught up into that at all as well. So bit of a rough start, but for the most part, good clean start by a lot of our competitors, and top 6 right now have really broken away. There's a little bit of a gap back to 7th in Brett Cananzi at the moment, and the top 6 have really broken away here, Cam.
Yeah, absolutely. They've all made a pretty mad dash for the front of the field as far as we can see. I mean, Cananzi's fallen away a little bit from Loxton, who's in 6th, but yeah, these top 6 have definitely pulled away, and that battle for 6th place between Blacklock, Sutton and Loxton at the moment is actually looking quite good at the moment as well. So it'll be interesting to see what Loxton can possibly do against.
Yeah, well, Loxton's been driving very well the last couple of seasons, and he's been putting that KRF motorsports machine in very good standing in the last couple of races as well. In fact, last week, he was our biggest mover through the race. He was up 10 positions, so if he can do a bit more of that here at Belle Isle this week, he's going to be doing very well for himself. But at the moment, he is just tucked in behind Mr. Sam Sutton. But a couple of cars already up a few spaces. Marlon McMullen and Luke Harvey are both big winners this first couple of laps. They're both up 3 positions and are also very close to each other on track and fighting for the low top 10 positions. We've got Scott Solosky and Mitchell McLeod. Now, we said just before the race, these guys need to be watched out for because they are very hard racers and they are going to come through the field rather quickly, and they have already made up some positions as well. Scott up 5 and Mitchell up 3, so slowly progressing through the field. They still do have another 30 laps here this evening though. We are expecting a pit stop probably around the halfway point, but track temperature is going to only increase. We are in the morning session for this race this evening in terms of the sim time, so the track temperature will only increase, which will cause these tyres to wear a little more, and also for the lap times to possibly extend a little bit as well. So guys really want to, we just see Kyle Stokes running a little bit wide there into that left-hand kink at turn number 8, and number 9 car there of Luke Harvey really trying to capitalize on that, but just not quite in a position where he's able to do anything with it. Luke Harvey, a very talented racer, going to go down the inside at a little bit of contact. Oh, and Kyle Stokes has been put into the wall, and that could be massive damage for him.
Yeah, it looked like he hit that fairly hard, although he might have just got away with that with the angle that he was on, as that tyre barrier is a bit softer than concrete. But as you know, hitting any sort of wall with the V8 Supercar can be a little bit detrimental to your race. So it'll be interesting to see how he carries on and whether to see that damage is going to.
Yeah, well, looks like I think you're quite right, Cam. He may have just gotten away with that. He didn't go in too hard, and he did go in on the rubber. So he may get away with that ever so slightly. Not looking super fantastic at the moment, though. We'll see how he progresses soon. Meanwhile, we'll take you to Chris Coxhead, who's following Luke Harvey, who was just having a look up the inside of Kyle Stokes before. And that might open up this train to get a little bit of a move on. They've got Marlon McMullen in that great-looking CMR car as well. He's new to that team and looking to impress, probably looking to be a little higher than 10th. And Brady Myers, the championship leader at the moment, he's definitely want to be moving himself up from 11th position, as we just see Marlon McMullen actually tap the wall on the entry into the corner there, and he's lost out quite badly as they come down the kind of kink straight now in towards turn number 7. Very interesting braking zone, and can be quite opportunistic for some people going for overtakes, as we saw Luke Harvey do earlier. But for the most part, everyone getting into a bit of a groove now, and it's so important, Cam, to really... Oh, as we've got a car around, just as we're saying that, and that's Scott Solosky. So unfortunately for him, trying to get through the field, making all that progress has come undone for him. We'll just see what happened. Looked like he was maybe battling with Mitch McLeod there as they come into turn number 7, and very defensive, coming across at the last moment, just maybe getting a bit of a shove there. Have to see it from a different angle, but definitely those cars were very close to each other. We'll have a look here as Mitchell McLeod is coming up on the back of Scott Solosky, and yeah, there was definitely a little bit of a tag there, so very unfortunate for Scott.
Yeah, really, really unfortunate, but he was defending hard and probably didn't really need to do it this early on, especially only 5 laps into the race. So yeah, probably was going to happen whether or not he liked it, but we know Mitch is a very hard racer and that sort of stuff can happen sometimes. But just looking at this battle that's going on for 6th still between Myers, McMullen and Coxhead, it's actually still fairly close. Myers actually dropped back a little bit as well, and Marlon McMullen's also dropped back from Coxhead, so probably tyre life started coming to this a little bit, and it'll be interesting to see who's going to be able to manage their tyres a bit better.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And Chris Coxhead, I have to say, is doing a really impressive job right now, up there with some of the best names in this car as it stands right now, and doing a good job of holding his own and even starting to pull away from a 2-time champion there. So doing a really nice job is Chris Coxhead. But these guys ahead are fighting pretty hard, and it looks like Brett Cananzi could have even had a little bit of an excursion or said hello to a wall a little bit. I'm just seeing a little bit of damage on the left-hand side of his car. So he's looking to hold up Luke Harvey quite a bit. We did see the gap back to up to Loxton and Sutton opening up quite a bit. And Luke Harvey's got a little bit of a run here possibly. He's going to go down the inside, and it doesn't look like Brett Cananzi really has a whole lot to argue with about that maneuver. And it looks like Chris Coxhead's going to try and come through as well, and he will do, which is very nicely done. Marlon McMullen might make some work of it too, but he's going to tag himself back in there and go for a bit of a different line there. Force Brett Cananzi onto the inside line, which is going to set McMullen up for a little bit of a jab there, but it wasn't quite close enough to make that work.
Yeah, wasn't quite close enough at that time around, but just saw Cananzi get really sideways out of the corner onto the back straight there, and so Marlon's going to have a good run here to head down to the other end of the racetrack, but he's going to sit in behind and just be a little bit more patient as Cananzi runs wide. That's going to allow the opportunity. Now Myers is possibly going to be able to get by here, although possibly not, as he's getting right held up, but he's right on the tail at the moment, so possibly moving to the hairpin just up here.
Oh, a little bit of a bump. Yeah, they're racing very hard. Brady Myers has seen Brett Cananzi just lose 3 positions, and that's another. Oh, that's Jackson Suslin Harlow, which is a great shame because he's a very good driver and very rare to see a mistake out of him. So we'll see what's happened there. Battling there with, I believe that's Mario Vlasic just tucked in behind. Very close racing. A little bit of a bump maybe as they come down in the braking zone. Defending very heavily is Jackson Suslin Harlow, and you would expect nothing less. And that's very unfortunate, and that's a KRF car's gotten involved there as well. I think that was Luke Page. So forcibly, Vlasic just got a bit of the inside curb there and hopped up and put Suslin Harlow out of the race, which is very unfortunate. Up at the front of the field, Wayne Burke and Blacklock now having a little bit of a scrap. Gap has closed up to 0.4 of a second. And as we know, Cam, these guys very talented and very veteran drivers of this car, and looks like they're going to have it on for a bit of a battle here.
Yeah, absolutely. Blacklock, 2-time champion in the official series, so he's definitely got it under him. And Burke actually did quite well here at Belle on Friday night last week in AOSC, so it's going to be interesting to see what these two are going to do and who's possibly going to come out on top, as I've actually just also noticed Brady Myers managed to get past on Brett Cananzi. Yeah,
very nice. And looks like Brett Cananzi now has a little bit of a gap back to Ian Ford so that he can possibly reset himself just a little bit. There's another train here from, looks like it's about 13th all the way down to 17th now. A few cars in a bit of a train here led by Jack Boyd under quite a lot of pressure now from Jacob Knight, who's in that double RT car and just darting all over the back. Not quite able to make anything work, but really keeping it nice and tight. And this is where he's got to keep it good. He's coming out of the exit of turn 1 and 2, but he just hasn't quite got it. He's going to have to be quite desperate on the brakes. He is poking his nose out, but I think he knows that he has to jump on the brakes way too early to have any chance of getting that one done. So he'll have to wait for another opportunity to get himself past Jack Boyd at the moment, who is doing a good job of defending that position. But we take you up again to Wayne Burke and Sam Blacklock, because they are still racing very hard and definitely two of the closest cars on track right now. And something that's going to be interesting in this race, Cam, I feel, is going to be the when these guys come in for tires, we're going to see probably quite a bit of overlap or of undercut where these guys can come into the pits a lap early and try and undercut their opponents and get that fresh tire advantage. Lap times at the moment have already fallen about 0.8 of a second across the board. So be interesting to see if these guys decide to come in bang on the halfway mark or a little longer or a little sooner.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you're in traffic, you'll probably want to do that undercut scenario just to get ahead of your competitors. But if you're someone like Wayne Burke or someone at the front who's in relatively clean air, you're probably going to want to go for that overcut just because you've got that extra bit of clean air to use at the moment. And the fresher your tyres are at the end, the better off you're going to be anyway. So it's really going to be something we're going to have to keep an eye on. And really going to be interesting to see who's going to do it is that battle between Warren and El Nabi is actually also closing up as well. Wasn't just taking a 10th out of Warren's time there.
Yeah, Dane Warren's had a little bit of he's had clear track ahead of him this whole race so far, but Fauzan El Nabi is definitely not letting him forget that he's in a race and that there are other people on the track, as he just runs a little bit deep there in through turn number 7 and 8, which is not the ideal line, so he's just lost a little bit of time through there. But you are right, they have been trading lap times very closely all throughout this race, and the Trick Sim Sports driver finds himself just 0.6 of a second. That's come out to about 0.9 of a second now after that slight mistake there. But Guy Leach is on the back of Evolution Racing Team's Jamie McKnight now, and that car looking like it's struggling a bit for rear grip there as they're just coming through the final section of the track now. And Guy Leach really able to get in nice and close under the rear of Jamie McKnight. Not quite able to get anything done at this stage, but still applying lots of pressure. You can just see how bumpy this circuit is, and especially one of the great things about watching these cars race in iRacing is you can just see how much the cars are constantly changing in attitude because of all of the bumps and all those, you know, all the laser scan bumps and all the chassis physics that are put into the cars. You can see them all working together in real time with all these cars on track. It's just absolutely fantastic. And we see now, I think that's Ian Ford making a move down the inside of Brett Cananzi there. So Brett Cananzi keeps on falling down this field, and he's got Jack Boyd and Jacob Knight just behind as well. So he's got two more competitors coming up who are looking to take that away. But up at the front of the field, Wayne Burke and Loxton now were really starting to heat it up, and Brett Loxton's now joining in on the party too, Cam.
Yeah, it was actually 3/10 quicker than the two ahead of him, so three-way battle for the final spot on the podium, I reckon, at this rate.
Yeah, and Brett Loxton's actually the second fastest car out on track at the moment, bar Dane Warren, who did take 0.3 of a second out of Fauzan El Nabi last time, but he's started to claw that back once again. But yes, Brett Loxton very much looking at this battle up ahead and using it as a little bit of inspiration possibly to get himself closer to the party. And we'll see if he's able to do anything in the next couple of laps. Just a little bit of oversteer on corner entry there from Sam Blacklock, as that car got very crossed up as he turned in. That's just lost a little bit of that advantage that he was starting to pick up on Wayne Burke there. And Wayne Burke's gone very deep in that corner as well. Very challenging, this track. And as we said, so bumpy as well, that can be very difficult. And we're just hearing as well, Ian Ford has just lost a couple of positions there. In fact, yes, he'd just gotten past Brett Cananzi. He's now battling with Jack Boyd and Jacob Knight. And oh my goodness, boys, getting pretty tight there. Jacob Knight finally getting himself past Jack Boyd, which is a very opportunistic move and nicely done there. He'd been waiting a while to get past Jack these last couple of laps. So using Ian Ford there as a little bit of a picking tool to make his way through on that position, and Ian Ford will have to go back and get the job done on Brett Cananzi once again. Luke Harvey, pardon me, and Chris Coxhead for 7th and 8th now. And said Chris was doing very well before. He's definitely still tucked in very nicely on Luke Harvey, who's a great driver in these V8 Supercars. They are just starting to fall back from Sam Sutton a little bit though. And Sam's kind of in his little own man's land as well. So he's got a bit of a buffer on either side of him. But Chris Coxhead really applying a good amount of pressure to Luke Harvey at the moment.
Burke's actually coming to the pits. I think that would be for fuel and tyres. He'll be trying to just get some clean air and take the pressure off himself at the moment. So that's promoted Loxton into 4th, and the rest of the field one position up pretty much. But I just went actually back and had a look at what happened to Ian Ford, and he actually clipped the outside wall down the front straight. So that would be the reason as to why he has fallen back 2 position.
Yeah, right. Well, very unfortunate there for Ian Ford. We are now on board with Chris Coxhead, who you can see is steering the wrong way to go the right way. And it's not doing all that much for him at the moment. Great onboard shots here, though, through this. Oh, my goodness, Chris. That was a very big moment, and you can just see there, ladies and gentlemen, how much of an effect that has. He was tucked in right up behind Luke Harvey just before, and that one little moment of oversteer there, I guess it wasn't really a little moment, but that one moment of oversteer really lost him quite a bit of time on Luke Harvey there. Probably about 0.3 of a second he's lost just out of that one little moment there. So try and recuperate it, but very difficult to get around this circuit. 33 laps in a V8 Supercar around Belle Isle. That's got to be one of the... If you were picking races to go, I don't want anybody to finish the race in terms of attrition, that's definitely a combo that you would pick. And these guys are doing a good job so far. Only 3 cars not circulating at the moment. Jackson Suslan, Harlow, Scott Slazlowski, and Kyle Stokes, who we've all seen have some incidents. So just coming over a third race distance now, and we've still got majority of our competitors, which is absolutely great to see. But Dane Warren up the front, he's not looking as comfortable as he has for the most part of this race. The gap was out to 0.9 of a second just a few laps ago, now down to just half a second, as Forzan Al-Nabi in that Trick Sim Sports Commodore has been clawing his way back ever so gently to Dane Warren in that ASM Ford Falcon, which is a brand new paint scheme for them, looking very good in the Detroit track here tonight. Forzan's looking a bit bare, unfortunately, but we do know that car has a good livery, I'm sure, coming as well. And Dane Warren will probably really be thinking about the strategy here. We've seen him have a few problems in the pits. Even last time out, he was about 2 seconds slower in the pit lane than everybody else, as he has a massive sideways moment. And Forzan Al-Nabi almost follows him through as well, and might have even just grazed that outside wall as they were coming through the final section of corners there too. But yeah, Dane's really... He doesn't have much to play with here, only half a second, and we have seen him have problems in the pits before.
Yeah, he's not had the best run here at Belle Isle in the recent past, so he'll probably be trying to get redemption here and just try and actually have a decent result for once. But one thing to keep an eye on is what Wayne Burke's lap time is going to be this time around after his more recent pit stop, because if it's that much quicker than Dane Warren and Forzan Al-Nabi, they'll want to make sure that they'll get into the pits as quickly as possible. It's a 30.0, so 6 off at them, 6 quicker, sorry, than the two of them. So gonna be interesting to see how this undercut works for him.
Well, he's got Mario Vlasic just ahead of him, who could potentially hold him up when he wants to, but you're absolutely right. The guys that he was fighting with, Brett Loxton and Sam Blacklock, they'll definitely be wanting that information and considering pitting very soon, because we are pretty much coming up to the halfway mark, and Wayne Burke is going to have to probably baby those tyres a little bit towards the end of the race, but we haven't seen the track temperature increasing all that dramatically. Still only 24 degrees Celsius is the track temperature at the moment, as Forzan Al-Nabi, yes. So, oh my goodness! That was almost into the barriers there for Forzan Al-Nabi. Ultra committed as he came into the pit lane. We'll get a Kart Pro Racing replay of that for you. And we're just down the end of the pit lane there, and here he comes, and very, very late on the brakes, and all sorts of crossed up. And I'm not even sure that he made the... He might have a penalty because of that, because it looked suspiciously like he...
It got a bit hot in it.
He was very hot in. I'm just going to check the... He's out. So he was a little bit over coming in, but he slowed sufficiently during the lane to make it out. So Wayne Burke had a 2 second longer stop than Forzan Al-Nabi, who we've just seen in the pits. So a very quick stop from Forzan, and that will definitely be in very good stead for him against Dane Warren, who is probably going 100% to the wall right now, trying to maximize the potential of his race. And we're on board now with Dane Warren. We've got the pit lane coming up in just a few corners, so we'll see if he decides to dart off and just round this very tight right-hand kink there. Does he go to the pits? Yes, he does. So very committed once again is Dane Warren, but looks like he's done a nice job there of just slicing it into the pit lane.
Blacklock's in
And
as well.
Blacklock is in as well. So a couple of guys now really starting to think about it. Loxton and Sutton are also in. So we're at about that stage where everyone's thinking about pitting now. And Dane Warren has just pulled into his box. Mullen McMullen comes in very hot, as does Chris Coxhead. So quite a bit of traffic in the pit lane now, and we're expecting for our race leader Dane Warren to come off the Jackson. There he goes out of the pit lane, and
Fulton's jumped him.
He's been jumped quite massively there. So 3 second longer stop. So we set it just before they came in. It's always been a bit of an issue for Dane. It has been the pit strategy, and Forzan locking up just ahead of him quite heavily. But he's got a big margin now to make up. The margin from Forzan to Dane is about 3 seconds nearly. And Sam Blacklock has managed to come out just ahead of Wayne Burke. So that undercut that Wayne Burke was going for has not worked quite as well as he wanted. But he does have hot tyres, and he might be able to put a move here on Sam as he's trying to get those Dunlop tyres up to temperature. But he's got a long straight now, and is probably going to be able to maintain that position unless Wayne's feeling very, very confident down into the braking zone at turn number 7, but not today. He's going to play it cool, and he'll probably have to sit behind Sam Blacklock for the majority of this race until, or if Sam Blacklock makes a mistake, because Wayne's been on those tyres now for nearly 5 laps, so he's definitely gone past the use by on the best use out of those tyres, and Sam Blacklock's just coming into them now.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be really, really interesting because Wayne's going to have to push really hard here, but I think that tyre advantage that Sam's got is just started to kick in because he saw him start to pull away out of that final corner there, and yeah, it's going to be a hard task for him, but if Wayne can manage those tyres pretty well, he might be okay.
Well, we will have to see how he does go with that. Going to be very difficult to make it. How many laps have we got to go now? Pretty much another half of this race. He's still got to go on those tyres done with Wayne Burke. So he's going to have been on those tyres for nearly 21 laps, which is going to be very tough indeed. There's only one car left to pit, and that is the Evolution Racing Team car of Ian Ford, who is currently in the lead of the race, but feel that pretty soon he'll be coming into the pit lane and taking his, it's not a mandatory stop, but it's mandatory if you want to make the end of the race on fuel, unless you pull around at 40 kilometers an hour, which these guys are not going to do, in a big crash from Jamie McKnight, who got a little bit of help there. But I think that was Jack Boyd as they were coming through and the suspension is very sore on that car for Jamie McKnight. Cannot get the car turned at all, and he's going to lose a bunch of positions here after having a fairly strong opening segment of this race. He was up a ton of positions and is now going to be losing all of them, including a spot to Corey Preston, who was shoved wide earlier in this race. So we'll get a cut price pricing replay for you now. And going side by side with Jack Boyd there into turn number 2 or 3. And Jack goes for the undercut.
Just look
and yeah, man. Yep. I think Jack just probably got a bit of unexpected understeer in the mid corner there, and they've both met in the middle, which is very unfortunate. Both guys leaving a good amount of racing room on the entry into the corner, but yeah, just very fine tolerances there, and a little bit too fine for Jack Boyd and Jamie McKnight. Unfortunately for Jamie McKnight, he is the big loser, and he has subsequently come back into the pit lane. And knowing Jamie, I'm sure he'll get that repaired and we'll get back out on track. We'll have to see how bad the damage is. Corey Preston going for a little bit of a lunge there on, I believe that's Guy Leach for 16th position, not able to make anything work there. Carrying a little bit of damage to that JSMR Ford Falcon is Corey Preston after he got shoved wide at the first major corner on the first lap. And now go back to Jack Boyd, who's under a bit of fire from Brett Cananzi, who had a very slow start to the race, but seems to have picked up a little bit of speed now and is looking quite racy behind Jack Boyd here.
Yeah, he is. It's looking like it's going to be a really tough challenge here to get by, as we know Brett's not really had the best pace, but he doesn't do too bad, so it's going to be interesting to see when he can get by. He might be able to get the run, not quite out of that corner as it gets quite sideways, but doesn't want to abuse those tyres too much or he'll end up struggling. But I reckon if he can get the run out of turn 2, he might just be able to get a move done.
Yeah, he's looking like he's got some good pace in that car, but as you said, you've kind of got to get the car set up in the right place to make anything work, and Jack Boyd's been doing a good job so far of making sure that he's got his car in the right place at the right time. And Cananzi just looking a little bit loose as they came out of the exit of turn number 2 there. And that's going to kill some of the momentum that he had coming into turn number 3, and really running it quite close to the wall there is Brett Cananzi, really using every millimeter of this Detroit circuit at Belle Isle, and not you can definitely see the attitude in Jack Boyd's car is a little more erratic at the moment than Brett Cananzi. That car looking quite settled actually comparatively. Both cars carrying a little bit of damage here, but still carrying on. It's unfortunate Brett Cananzi is down in 14th, because he started this race up in 8th and was even up to 7th at one point. A big moment there for Jack Boyd, getting very crossed up just between the 2 corner on that direction change just there. But Brett Cananzi running a little bit wide through the first of those 2 apexes there, and not able to capitalize on what could have been a bit of an opportunity there for him. He's going to have to go for a look once again as they come down to turn 3. So this is where it kind of starts to set up. You've got to make sure that you're nice and close out of that kink there, because that makes sure that you're nice and close into 1 and 2. But then you have to get 1 and 2 right as well. And if you mess up the exit of 2, you've pretty much undone all of the work that you started 3 or 4 corners previously. And unfortunately for Brett Cananzi, it just looks like Jack Boyd's got that car really nicely hooked up through turns 1 and 2 there, and he's managed to get a really nice exit and pull out enough of a gap on Brett Cananzi that he doesn't have to worry about a challenge from him. Fauzan El Nabi, though, still our effective race leader. That gap has reduced dramatically. The gap from Fauzan El Nabi to Dane Warren after they came out of the pits was 3 seconds, and it's now come down to 0.8, and we can see Dane Warren is just firing away, just lap after lap. He's been the fastest man on the track and took out 0.3 of a second out of Fauzan on the last lap alone. And they've got Ian Ford just up ahead of them, only 2 seconds up the road. So be interesting if Ian gets involved in traffic a little bit there. But Dane Warren is a man on a charge at the moment, and carrying and catching that Trick Sim Sports car of Fauzan El Nabi very quickly at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. He's been doing some absolutely amazing lap times in the last few laps. Ian Ford hasn't pitted yet, so it'll be interesting to see what happens. But Fauzan might be fuel saving here, because it sounds like he's rolling into the corner and short shifting as well. So possibly something else to spice up this race and could have another effect on it.
Yeah, well, that's something to consider also, is that Dane Warren, he was 3 seconds slower in the pits, but that could be because he took an extra 7 or 8 liters of fuel, and it does sound indeed like Fauzan El Nabi is fuel saving. So that's going to it's got 12 laps here until the end of the race, and Dane Warren does have to find a way past, but going to be giving away quite a bit of the advantage that he has is Fauzan El Nabi having to lift and coast into those corners and short shifting as well. These V8 Supercar engines really like to rev out to the absolute limit, and he's not going to be able to do that. We are looking now at, I believe that's Brett Loxton there, and Sam Sutton for 6th place. And Brett has been clawing his way up to the back of Sam ever so gingerly. Last time around it was about 0.2 of a second. And Brett Loxton within 0.3 of a second, looking now to make something happen as they come down into turn number 3. So turn 1 looking good, turn 2 looking good, and you can see the exit speed he's got, but he just gets it a bit taily on the exit there, and he was looking so good, carrying so much more momentum than Sam Sutton through that exit of turn 2 there, but just lost it all, just getting a little bit too eager on that gas pedal. But just behind them as well, Luke Harvey and Brady Myers are very close to each other, and looks like their battle's starting to heat up a little bit as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's getting really, really close. Brady's got a little bit of front-end damage from that contact earlier on, but he's been doing really well to keep up with Luke Harvey at the moment. They've been going at it since the pit stops, so they're on the same tyre pretty much. There's no advantage as far as overcut or undercut goes, so these two are just going at it straight for pure talent and setup, really.
And it looks like for the moment, Luke Harvey is the man that is winning that battle, but Brady Myers behind him, he's up there in the point standings at the moment. He is the man who is leading the championship, and I'm sure that he will want to hold on to that lead for as long as possible, because as we know, the championship winner of this season of the Aussie Driver Search V8 Supercar iRacing Official Series will get a rookie comp entry to the Aussie Driver Search series, which I've been a part of, and is just an absolutely amazing experience for anybody that is lucky enough to have the opportunity to do it, and definitely a worthy prize for a champion of this series, because it really does translate the simulation in iRacing onto the road. It really does go hand in hand with one another, and very cool experience for somebody to be able to drive on the real track after just doing it in the sim. And Brady Myers is currently the man in the hot seat for that, but he's going to have to keep up his consistency throughout this championship for the rest of the season if he wants to be taking himself around the track. And right now he's got Luke Harvey ahead of him, who's doing a great job of keeping that TTR car ahead of Brady Myers, but these guys have been trading lap times within 0.3 of a second for quite a while now, and just trading blows corner after corner as they go around this Belle circuit.
Yeah, absolutely. Brady's not doing too bad at the moment. It just looks like he might be just lacking a little bit. He is quicker than Harvey at the moment, but yeah, it's really hard to tell. He might have just used his rear tyres up a little bit. He doesn't seem to have the drive off the corner like Harvey does currently, but only time will tell. And what's going to be roughly 10 laps to go as he gets a bit sideways out of the final earlier. As I was saying, as time will tell, with 10 laps to go, it's going to be really interesting as Loxton's just had a big lockup just ahead of them in a turn 1, currently in a battle with Sam Sutton as they head down towards turn 3.
Yeah, it was actually looking very promising for Brett Loxton there. I thought he was going to do the goods through turn 1 and 2 and have him down into 3, but he just got massive oversteer on entry into 2 there. I think he might have locked one of the inside tyres there and just unsettled the car to the point where he had to bail out of it quite substantially and lost a lot of momentum. But Forzan Nabi and Dane Warren up the front, 0.4 of a second is the gap, and I'm going to double check and see if Forzan is still saving fuel, because he could have been only saving fuel for a little bit of time before he really had to get back on the gas and compete with Dane Warren once again. It does sound like he's going pretty hard on the car at the moment as they're coming through this back section of corners. Definitely not unreasonable to be short shifting through here. You want to make sure that the rear tires don't spin up too much. And he is very gentle coming into the braking zone there, but again, you can drive the car nice and smoothly through there. It's all about keeping momentum, and Dane Warren hits the wall as they come through the exit of turn number 2 there, and that is a very minor mistake there for Dane Warren, and lucky the car did not shoot itself into the barrier there, because I'm sure we've all seen it before where the tire can grip up and just shoot you straight back into the barrier. It's looking a little bit wayward and has lost a little bit of time to Forzan El Nabi now. So we'll get a replay of that for you because it was just so tight and very close there. Almost didn't quite hit it, but just enough contact there to cause a little bit of drama, and he's now going to have to reset himself and get himself back into the zone so that he can make up that gap once again. And here we see, so he just comes down to the braking zone there, clips that nicely as well. Maybe just a little bit too much inside curb there, and just unsettles the car and pushes him a little wide. We'll just get a little shot for you so we can just see that contact with the wall there and just see how close it was. He came through the exit there, and you can just see a little bit of unsettlement as they come, and just probably about less than half a meter in that, but definitely enough to have a bit of a substantial contact with the wall there. Sam Sutton under immense pressure right now from Brett Loxton. 0.2 of a second separates these guys as they come down the back once again. Now, I said last time that Brett Loxton was looking very strong through here. All he needs to do is get it right through turn 1 and 2 here, and I feel like he's got it. We see Jamie McKnight coming out of the pits now. He'll be wanting to stay out of the way of these two guys battling, and Brett Loxton got a decent run, but just not good enough to really be applying any pressure here to Sam Sutton without looking desperate, and subsequently just pulls in behind Sutton there, not able to do anything. But if he's lucky here, Sam Sutton might get tripped up a little bit, and that could allow Brett Loxton to come through if Jamie McKnight doesn't get right out of the way here at the right time. But oh, big moment there for Sam Sutton, and that could be all Brett Loxton needs to put a move on down into turn number 7. Big defend from Sam Sutton as they come down in and cuts across on the braking line, but that's going to give Brett Loxton a bit of time to go underneath. Can't quite make it work, but he's very close now, and he's got Sam on the back foot here under an immense amount of pressure, and Sam will really be desperately trying not to make a mistake. Nice line there from Brett Loxton, carrying a wider line on entry and trying to get a nice exit. Just bogged down a little bit as they came out of the exit there, but once again he's going to try and stay as close as he possibly can to the rear of that TTL esports car, and once again he's going to have to try and go through from the run through turns 1 and 2. So we'll go on board with Brett Loxton here as we see very nice on the brakes, and on the entry into turn 1 very good, and getting a nice run through turn number 2. Caught at that time, didn't get as much wheel spin, just not quite clawing in as much as he would want to. It kind of just dies off halfway down the straight there. So maybe some camber or toe changes to that TTL esports car, keeping him ahead. And there's contact between Luke Harvey and Brady Myers, and Brady's gone around at between turns 3 and 4 there, and that is very unfortunate for him. He's going to be able to flick spin it around and continue from 10th position, but we'll get a replay on that going down the inside of Luke Harvey there, and this had been brewing for a very long time, and I mean, I think that was just a bit of racing there. Unfortunately, it had to end that way. Brady's car had to spun, or if Luke's car had to spun a little more politely off that contact there, it would have been a lot better, but unfortunately Brady going for a move there and it not paying off for him. His teammate though, Sam Sutton, still in a battle now with Brett Loxton, and Brett has just been so close these last couple of laps, but just cannot get this move done.
Yeah, he's just been really struggling to get the drive off the corner. I mean, I'm not sure if he's burned his tyres up a little bit too much or not, or whether just Sam's got that better car, but he's just not quite got the advantage that Sam does at the moment, and Sam was actually 0.2 quicker in that last lap, so yeah, it's hard to say what the difference is, but it's looking like it's going to be fairly close, and Loxton is definitely not going to give up on this one.
I feel like Brett Loxton's probably at the limit of his pace there, and he's just being urged on by the fact that he's right ahead of him. And he's gotten a massive sideways moment there for Sutton, but or for Loxton there, just really pushing the limits of what that car's able to do. But he wants to make sure he doesn't push too hard, because you can see he was virtually pushing Sam through the last half through the last couple of laps, and now he's got about 5 or 6 car lengths there that he's lost out. Speaking of people who are losing out, Dane Warren has been dropping off Falcons and Commodores dramatically. So I feel like that little tap with the ball there is just either unsettled Dane's mentality too much, or probably more likely he's got a bit of damage to that car. We did see it looking a bit deranged or wayward, I guess is probably the better word to use. You see Mullen McMullen not being afraid to get up on 2 wheels in one of these V8 Supercars. He continues to try and trace down Chris Coxhead, who's had a pretty good race so far. Started 11th up into 8th position, and in such a tough field of cars where he is car number 21. Average I rating of this race, 4,129 this evening. So a very strong field, and Chris Coxhead being up in 8th position, very nice job from him. And I mean, everyone else who's in the top 10, you would definitely expect to see there. But Chris Coxhead may be the man at the moment who's just punching above his weight ever so slightly. That being said, I think we saw him with a podium earlier this season as well, or possibly last season. So he's been up there from time to time, but nonetheless having a great run at the moment. We are looking at the moment at Brady Myers, who has Jacob Knight on the back of him after Brady was spun just a few laps ago with an altercation with Luke Harvey there. Now coming under pressure from the RRTV, or the Redback Racing Team car there of Jacob Knight. And Jacob's been looking racy with a couple of other drivers throughout this race, and not afraid to get his elbows out. So if Brady's got a little bit of damage to that car, wouldn't be surprised to see Jacob getting involved in a battle here and take that final top 10 position away from him.
Yeah, absolutely. It'll be probably a bit of a hard task for Brady to hold on with the damage that he's probably got, but Ian Ford's actually not too far behind them, and he's actually got some decent pace, so with those newer tyres as well. So he's probably going to make his way past these two at some point within the next few laps, and he'll be on for a top 10 if he manages to do that.
Yeah, he's actually the fastest man on track. He's substantially faster than everyone except Forzan El Nabi, who pretty much, although he's gone 0.2 of a second faster than Forzan this time around. So Ian Ford is a man on a charge, and these two cars ahead of him are going to look like pretty easy pickings in a couple of moments, I'm sure. Jack Boyd running very wide through turn number 2 there, and that's to try and get an absolute rocket shot out of that corner and ensure that Brett Cananzi's not going to be able to have anything to do with him as they come down into the braking zone. You can see Brett possibly practicing what's the very latest he's willing to get on the brakes there, as he just locked up the rears on the initial application there and just got the car a little bit skittish under brakes. But looking like he's carrying good pace in that car. He's been stuck behind Jack for quite a while now, but it's been there or thereabouts, and I think that Jack's just been doing an absolutely great job of securing the right track position through that turn 1 and 2 complex. Another man who's been doing a good job to keep track position is Sam Sutton, as Brett Loxton once again has caught up to the back of the TTL Esports car and is going to try and have another crack. So tyre wear for him, Mr. Brett Loxton, doesn't seem to be an issue at the moment, and looking very strong once again through turn 1 and 2. Maybe running a little bit deep into 2 there, and that's going to affect his exit down to the straight for turn number 3. And just once again, close and close and close and closer, but not quite close enough for Brett Loxton to really make a move here. He's going to have to keep applying the pressure and hoping that Sam Sutton is going to make a mistake here. And Sam definitely looking like a couple of chinks are starting to fall off in that armor, as Brett Loxton just continues to apply that very heavy pressure at the moment.
Yeah, Loxton's putting the pressure on Sam at the moment. There's only about 2.5 laps to go, so this is going to be on as he's going to look to the outside. Sutton's going to go defensive. Is he going to get it done? They're going to be side by side in the brake zone, but Sutton's going to just hold on. So Loxton will slot in back behind, but this is just going to show what sort of pace Loxton has and that he could possibly steal this from.
Yeah, he could just be trying to figure out where is a good place to do it. He's obviously been trying down into turn 1 and 2 for a while to try and make something work there, but it's not happening for him. And Sam Sutton's been making mistakes in a couple of other places around the track where Brett Loxton's been able to catch right back up. So maybe if he can just stay tucked up behind that TTLE sports car for just long enough, he can wait for an opportunity to just punch himself through into 5th position. But he has been looking very good throughout this race has Brett Loxton, and Sam Sutton really starting to feel that pressure now, but doing a great job of maintaining his position on the track as it stands. And as you said, Cam, just under now, 2 laps to go in this race, so he doesn't have long to defend to Sam Sutton, but Brett Loxton is trying to play the chessboard here and try and move his pieces around so he can figure out what his final strategy is going to be. And Sam Sutton is trying to pick up on that as well and make sure that he gets a nice exit of turn 6, not to be attacked as they come down into the tricky braking zone for turn number 7 there, underneath that Corvette sign. And looking close again is Brett Loxton, but not close enough for anything to work for him there. So I think our leaders are just starting to come around to begin the final lap now. So they only have about 3.5 kilometers to get this done. Brett Loxton and Sam Sutton is probably going to be about 4 to sort out who is going to take home 5th position. These guys are the closest in the lead battle at the moment. Chris Coxhead and Marlon McMullen are also quite close, as are Brady Myers, Jacob Knight, and Ian Ford. So we'll see if we can touch on those guys in this final lap. But also sounds like Sam Sutton could be doing fuel saving, and we have seen so many times in this V8 Supercar Series, guys barely making it with fuel or not making it with fuel and just coughing as they come across the line. You can see now he's actually defending into turn number 3, and he probably didn't have to there, but it does look like he's on minus 50 on the fuel there. And Brett Loxton now really tasting that weakness and just darting all over the track, using as much of the track as possible to confuse his opponent and try and make something work, but he hasn't got the best exit out of turn number 6 is Brett Loxton, and Sam Sutton might be able to fuel save fairly gently into that corner there without too much trouble. Make sure he doesn't run too wide and collect the wall anywhere. He's doing a nice job there, but a man who has been doing a fine job all evening and has taken the win away from Mr. Dane Warren is Forzan Elnabi. As he comes across the finish line, he will win round number 5 on the Monday night broadcast as Dane Warren slides his way across the finish line for 2nd position. Sam Blacklock will come home in position number 3. And looks like Sam Sutton is going to hold off Brett Loxton as Wayne Burke just comes across the line.
He's got a field across the line, but just holds
he's
on.
Made it, just made it. As he came across the back straight there, just ran out of fuel about 100 meters too early, and another couple.
Brady Myers out of fuel.
And that's into the wall hard for Ian Ford, but don't think that really mattered for him either way. Came home in position number 11. So a couple of guys there pushing it to the absolute limit on what is possible, and Jacob Knight turned around after the line there as well. Michael Cracknell, the man hot in the heels of the championship here, he'll probably be hoping for a better result next time he comes back to Detroit Belle Isle racing circuit, as we just have a few more cars coming through the final sections of the track now and completing the race. But we will take you through our results now, and it was Forzan Elnabi who started position 2 but used strategy to his advantage, used a bit of fuel saving to bring home the win for Trick Sim Sports this evening. And if anyone is surprised by the fact that Trick Sim Sports use fuel saving strategy to win a race, then they probably need to watch a little more V8 Supercars. But great job from them, and looks like they've still got a few tricks up their sleeve regarding that. Dane Warren, unfortunately, position number 2 for him, hitting the wall, taking a little bit of damage towards the end of that race and falling off the hunt for that race win. Mr. Two-Time progressed up to 3rd position there, up 2 positions for Sam Blacklock, and took the final place on the podium this evening. Wayne Burke came home in 4th position. Sam Sutton and Brett Loxton came home 5th and 6th after a great battle towards the end of the race. Luke Harvey won out against Brady Myers and came home in 7th, and Chris Coxhead came home in 8th position. A fantastic race for him, considering he's in car number 21. We had Marlon McMullen in car number 1 come home in 9th position, and Jacob Knight came home in 10th.
And 11th, we have Ian Ford, who just managed to finish ahead of Brady Myers, who unfortunately rounded the field. He had to settle for 12th. Jack Boyd holding on to 13th from Brett Cananzi, who had to finish in 14th, who actually clipped the wall out of turn 2 on that last lap, unfortunately, so didn't quite get the finish that he wanted, but regardless, still a good effort from him. Corey Preston will take 5th position, followed by Michael Cracknell in 16th. 17th, Guy Leach with Mario Vlasic in 18th, and rounding out the top 20 will be Greg Sharp and Mitchell McLeod.
And then we had Luke Page, and then the first of our non-finishers. Well, Jamie McKnight actually did still finish, and as I said, he would. Good on you, Jamie, for getting back out there and finishing the race. Brad Ryan had a very poor race comparatively to last week, unfortunately. Did not finish the race this evening, as did Brian Borg, Kyle Stokes, Jackson Suslin-Harlow, and Scott Zalowski, who all succumbed to various incidents throughout the race. But a fantastic race from our competitors here this evening, and a very difficult track, not only to just complete in general, but also to race at this Detroit Belle Isle circuit. So bumpy, so narrow, and especially when you add in the cumbersomeness of a V8 supercar, a very tough feat for all involved. But we do have plenty more lined up for you on SimSpeed TV for the rest of the week, and also on the iRacing Esports Network as well. On Wednesday night, we have the Rallycross Series, and we're also going to be having round 1 of the Sprint Series Australia Championship, which are making the move to the GTE cars. It's going to be round 1 there from Brands Hatch, which is going to be very exciting to watch indeed. On Thursday night, we have the Australian F3 Championship, where we've seen some great racing as well. On Friday night, we have the Australian Online Supercars Championship, which is always a fantastic watch, especially if you love your V8 Supercars. If you like the broadcast tonight and you're looking for more racing to watch, you should definitely check out that as well. And then on Saturday, we have the Majors Series also. So there is plenty of racing coming up on the SimSpeed TV network. And as well, ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't already, please do make sure to subscribe to the iRacing Esports Network, subscribe to SimSpeed TV, and also make sure that you like this video and like any of the videos that you see on our channels as well. If you like it and you enjoy it, please do give us a thumbs up, because every little bit does help. And I'm sure, much like all of you, we'd all love the sport to continue to grow. And that's just one little thing that you can do to really help us out. I do once again want to thank so much to Cameron Dance for joining me in the Combox this evening, as well as Jay Kennedy, who has been on the buttons. We will be joining you for the Monday Night V8 Supercar Aussie Driver Search Series next week, where we will be joining you from, once again, the USA. This time it'll be the Watkins Glen Classic Boot, which is going to be that's one of the best circuits to race on, and we have seen some great racing there previously. So until then, we very much look forward to seeing you. I'm Zach Hamlin, and until then, have a great night.